Hi, I'm Thomas Pingus. These are my parents, Kathleen and Phil, and that's my cat. Um, so this is for the Radiolab assignment. So I'm just gonna ask you guys some questions about color, and then we'll discuss them. So, do you guys know anything about Sir Isaac Newton's investigations into color and what he contributed to color?
No.
So, so to investigate how colors worked, he stuck a knife in between his eye socket and his eyeball and wiggled it around.
Newton
And
did that?
yeah,
Jeez.
he also stuck a needle like into the center of his eye to see what colors it would produce. And he found it basically produced like white and other random colored splotches in his vision temporarily. You could also get the same effect by just closing your eyes and lightly pressing on the front of your eyeballs.
I see. So there's a connection between brilliance and madness.
Yeah. And everyone sees the same pattern of colors when you do this. And then he also, so the Pink Floyd album cover of the light going through the prism.
Yeah.
So he was not sure if that was breaking up the colors or if the prism was producing the colors, or if it was like staining the color as it went through. So what he did was he took a prism, and then where he saw the rainbow on the wall, he went up to the blue and put the prism in it, and found that the color that went through, which is blue, came out exactly the same on the other side, which is blue. So he concluded that white light is made up of all the other colors combined together.
Is that Pink Floyd or Sir Isaac Newton? She says something about an album cover.
It was Newton did that.
Yes, I know, but Pink Floyd
Well,
was
there's an
doing it. It
album
was
cover.
probably drug related, I'm thinking. So
Allie, we're doing a video. Okay, so the next point is that blue is not a real color or has not been a real color in the past, and that the sky isn't actually blue.
what color is that?
Is clear.
But for the spectrum, Roy G. Biv, the B is for blue. That's
Yeah,
not
but so
color.
the ancient Greeks, Chinese, Japanese, and Hebrew didn't have a word for the color, which leads people to believe that it never existed or that it used to not exist. What do you think about that?
Well, why I asked about the Pink Floyd because that sounds like a color that didn't exist but now exists, and looking at prisms is something that I would think that maybe Pink Floyd was doing when he was using drugs. Just a
Pink
thought.
Floyd.
Okay, Pink Floyd was
I
a
know the
Pink
band
Floyd was a
people,
band,
the
yeah.
band people. I know that. What do
Okay.
I think about? There's no color of blue.
Yeah, and then in the Odyssey, Homer described the sea as wine dark, and then so why do you think he described it as wine dark instead of deep blue or green?
Is it, maybe
Maybe
it looks
wine
purple
was blue back or purple back then.
or blackish, and if it was deep water and in the middle of a storm, it would look
Yeah, we
blackish.
don't know what
purple.
color wine was back then.
Yes.
But I can't believe that blue as a color didn't exist. Because we have the oceans, we have the sky, which we identify as blue.
Yeah, but Greeks never identified the word blue and never described anything as blue because the word didn't exist.
So it didn't mean the color didn't exist, but the word didn't, perhaps.
I know, but this is through multiple cultures. So they're saying the sky is blue. Actually, the first culture to invent a word for blue was the Egyptians because they made a blue dye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, isn't a color or a shade of blue like ink? So it's close to black. So maybe there is. It was called something.
Yeah, maybe it was a different color.
Their words.
They
were
had a different term for it.
But I understand that this is a theory as to why he, meaning Sir Isaac Newton, was using a prism to figure out light and what the actual colors are versus what they appear to be in different types of light. Is that basically what his theory was?
That's not a theory, that was a test that he did. But this is just they didn't have a word for it back then, so they're trying to figure it out. So it's just I was supposed to get your take on what you thought about that. Okay, and then the third part of this is the perfect yellow. So there's this tree sap in Cambodia called gamboge, which is the French word for Cambodia, and they sell it to artists, and it takes years and years to collect because it comes out very slowly. And it comes out at first as a dark amber color, and then when you grind it down and crush it, it becomes a very bright yellow. It's called the perfect yellow. This some people can't tell that yellow apart from other yellows, which led to a monkey test where basically they wrapped a virus with yellow cones, which cones are what help you see colors in your eyes, and they injected them into monkeys. And then so the monkeys had to pick. There was a circle of colors, and they would all look yellow to a normal person. And the monkeys had to pick the yellow that was different from the rest of them, and they would get a glass of juice. And it took several years, but eventually they were finally able to tell what the odd one out was.
With the odd one, the odd color out?
Yeah, which tile was different. So there's tests if you could do that with people. There's tests if you could do that with people too, because other animals are actually able to see larger spectrums of colors. Like the mantis shrimp can see the most colors out of any
So
animal.
tell me again about the monkeys. What was the point of that?
To see if you could change someone on how they could see color,
Why would they do it on a monkey, not a person?
because their eyes are similar to ours.
But why wouldn't they? Okay.
Probably the inhumanity of it, although one could
Yeah.
argue that was inhumane as well. So is this whole, you said there were 3 points,
Yeah.
having to do with how color appears differently to different people or through
Yeah.
different vision.
Yeah.
So I think I understand, or I've heard that dogs are allegedly, or maybe it's cats.
Dogs can't see. Dogs can only see 3 colors.
Okay, and so, for instance, going back to the ocean, and the water sometimes acts like a prism, doesn't it? And that's one of the reasons why water can look different at different times.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, how does
The colors, that is.
Well, that can also be the depth or the temperature of
I agree.
water.
I agree.
So how many colors can humans see? 7, I believe it is.
I think so, 7 or
So,
variations. Of those.
Mantis shrimp can see 20 different colors,
Mhm.
which we couldn't even describe or make out because we can't see them. And you can't even think of a color that doesn't already exist. And if you saw one, it would probably just appear closest to whatever color it was closer to on the spectrum.
Okay.
But so interesting thing about that gamboge stuff I was talking about earlier is that actually, so I was in Cambodia and it revealed a lot of stuff about the killing fields, because they would collect these buckets of sap and there'd be bullets in them because the trees were next to the killing fields.
So did the content of the bullets change the color of the
That's
sap?
what they were. Some people were thinking of that, but it's interesting because the trees have been there so long, and they revealed a lot about history too. And it was weird how, because they didn't know it, but they'd be collecting sap, and then like bullets would like pop out of the side of the tree into the sap bucket.
So, in addition to learning about colors, they learned a bit about the history of that incident, I would
Yeah.
imagine. Because you would think about it, if the bullet went through somebody first, they would also get DNA from some of the victims of that.
Right.
That would reveal a lot about history.
Right. But
So-
that was about it for the colors. What did you guys think of that?
Fascinating, but were there 2 points or 3 points?
That was 3 points.
What was the,
There was Newton, blue, and then yellow.
I see. So my question would be, if you have a box of crayons that has 50 different colors, are those just still considered only 7, which is shades of the 7?
Yeah, shades of
The
it.
variety, okay. think about that. I think that sap is interesting in the color yellow, and it's probably very expensive to produce,
Mhm.
and used only by
Certain artists.
certain artists. And so I think that is fascinating, actually, and that an art form could also reveal so much about history.
Right. And then another interesting point is there's actually people called tetrachromats who can see more colors than normal people. And they basically have a genetic vision mutation.
Like X-Men.
Yeah, kind of like X-Men. But
Okay.
because most people are trichromats, so they have three cones in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But women, since they carry an extra set of DNA, kind of as like a spare, some of them are able to use that extra set and have a fourth cone in their eye,
Wow.
which allows them to distinguish other colors. And most of those people become interior designers.
I see. That's pretty fascinating, actually.
Yeah,
What do you think about all that?
it's cool.
All right.
Dad, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I'm still
I-
not. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna just say the whole thing about the color blue to me just seems like maybe it's a misunderstanding or misinterpretation of the language back then. I find
Well,
it
it's
really
five very different languages.
So, I was gonna say the same thing. So that it would be one of two things. One is it's a language issue, because you wouldn't think that over time that human beings and these animals could develop the ability to see blue. So that
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense
Well,
either.
The interesting thing is because the tetrachromats, they did an interview with one of them and they asked her to look up at the sky and tell them what color it was, and she said it was blue and pink. It was blue with splotches of pink, and it was especially pink around the sides of clouds.
So they see.
Well, around the edges of clouds, you probably have refraction of the light too. So
Right, but even if it was a
yeah,
perfectly flat blue sky, that they would see pink in it.
yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. And then what do you think of Newton putting needles in his eyes to test color?
As I said, there's probably a connection between genius and madness. That
Yeah.
would seem to me to be a pretty crazy thing to do as an experiment on oneself, because if he was wrong in his theory that led him to do that, he could have blinded himself, and then that would be the end of his ability to continue research, or it would severely limit it if you only had one working eye.
Yeah, but I mean, who was it? Beethoven went deaf and he still was a composer.
Yes, but if he
That
was
that wasn't self-imposed going
It
deaf.
wasn't. He
Yeah.
didn't do
Yeah.
that deliberately. But to me, to experiment on yourself in such a manner for someone who was dedicated to scientific research and to do it on himself, and if he was wrong about his theory, he could have severely limited his ability
Well,
to
even
continue.
if he's right about his theory,
Even
he
right.
still could have
I just
changed
think
himself.
I just think it was funny that he could have gotten the same effect by just rubbing his eyes with his eyes
Yes.
closed.
Yeah. No, I'm sure he tried that too. So.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps it up. Thank
All
you.
right.
All right.
Thank you,
Good
Mr.
job.
Gardner.